and I'm going to go over the very first lesson in my Jazzy Ukulele book so you can see how the chords are made. By the way, I'm using a low G string on my ukulele. This optimizes the sound of the jazz chords. Here's how the progression looks that we're going to talk about. This little progression is made up of just two chords, a two-chord combination that's the most commonly used combination in all of jazz. The first one is made by putting your finger down and covering all the strings, like this. It's just that simple. And we're not going to name the chord yet. I'm going to just show you the shapes that your fingers use to make the chords, and we'll worry about naming them in just a minute. So we go like that for the first chord, and the next one we're going to lower this string going this way to make it a lower sound, 1 fret. So it's going to be like that, and the other 3 remain the same, sounding like this. So there's the 2-chord combination. I'm starting on fret 5 to make this. Second one. Now the beauty of this little combination is you can move it anywhere on the ukulele. So I'm going to move it up to fret 7. Here it is on fret 6. And now on fret 5. The most commonly used combination in all of jazz. In jazz, we don't look at chords as being individual so much. We always look at chords as being in combinations. And this little 2-chord combination is the one that we use the most. If you look at a piece of music, a standard, like one of those good old standards, you will be confronted with usually a lot of chords. And this can be rather daunting. You can say, oh my God, there's 20 or 30 chords here. How am I ever going to learn them or remember them? Well, in jazz, we sort them into these combination groups. And we find out that these little combinations are moved from place to place around the guitar neck with the same shapes. And it helps us reduce the number of chords that we have. We immediately look at the piece of music and we see the combination, combination, combination. Okay, we got a few combinations here and a few combinations there, and we've broken into something that doesn't amount to all that many different chords. Here's the next most commonly used combination of chords that we use in jazz. You'll see I'm not giving any names to the chords yet. These are found on page 4 in the book. We're going to talk about the names later, but right now we're just going to concentrate on the shapes. And you'll see that the first 2 shapes are the same 2 shapes we just used in our first 2-chord combination, but here we're going to add a 3rd chord to it. Now we put it in different categories. One has 2 chords, one has 3 chords. It sounds pretty simple, but it helps us to understand how these combinations work. We'll use fret 5 again as a starting place, as it's shown in the book. We use the same 2 chords that we used in the 2-chord combination and end on this 3rd chord here. This finger remains on fret 5. Up here we have 3 strings closed, and this time this one's down here 2 frets away. Here it is again. This 3-chord combination can be moved anywhere, the same as the 2-chord combination was. Here it is up on fret 7, ending like that. Let's take it on fret 4. So now, without even naming the chords, just knowing how the chords sound and how the shapes are made, you can produce a very appealing jazz sound by just moving things around the neck from place to place, either in 2-chord combinations or 3-chord combinations. You can experiment with this yourself creatively. I'm just going to start on fret 5 with a couple of 2-chord ones up to 7. Now I'll go to 6 with 3, down to 4. Here's an example of how the 3-chord pattern is used in a popular jazz standard. This is an old Cole Porter tune. I'm going to put it on the 5th fret here and play just these 3 chords. I'll put a little rhythm to it, giving it a chunk on every beat, typical rhythm to use in jazz standards. I've got you under my skin, just the 3 chords. I've got you deep in the heart of me, so deep in my heart, you're really a part of me. Now this particular song serves as a great example because it uses just that pattern over and over. The beauty of knowing these jazz patterns is that if we want to put it into another key, and just using the same song because it is a great example, you say, well, that's a little too high for me, let's go down lower. And I'm going to start it on the 3rd fret this time, down here instead of on the 5th fret. I've got you under my skin, same pattern but lower. I've got you deep in the heart of me, and so forth. On page 6 in the workbook, you're going to find another way to end this same 3-chord pattern. You'll see the first 2 chords are exactly the same, but the 3rd chord ends with a different shape. So what we have here is alternative endings to this pattern. Let me show you how it sounds. Again, we'll start on fret 5 for all of our examples here. Same chord here, all the fingers across, dropping back to here. Now we're going to come down just one more fret here. We start up here in 5, this finger goes to 4, and now coming way down here to this relative distance from where we started. So we have an alternative ending. It's up to you which one you want to use. You can just keep varying it. You can end with one or the other. And here's the difference in how they sound. The first one is like this. Here's the second ending. They're both very jazzy sounding. And it's your decision what you want to use in any circumstance. It just gives you a choice, a variety of a way to end it. We will have to know the names of the chords if we want to work with them in songs. To play the jazz standards, we started on fret number 5. The first chord's a minor 7 chord, in this case a D minor 7. As it goes to the second chord, it's a 9 chord, a G 9 chord. And we go to the 3rd chord, it's a C major 7 chord. Here's a combination of the 3 chords. But when we move it to another fret, for instance fret 4, it just changes its name, but the shapes remain the same. So now we have C sharp minor 7, F sharp 9, and B major 7. If we went to fret 3, we'd have different names again. So when we pick up a jazz standard, an old piece of music, we try to identify where these 2-chord patterns are and these 3-chord patterns. And we have 4-chord patterns also that we'll learn a couple of those a little bit later. But our goal is to not look at the chords individually, but find them in these little groups, so it'll make playing the song much easier. The first thing to do, though, when learning jazz is just enjoy the sound of these chords and progressions, and don't worry about the names too much. The names will come as you start to learn song by song, but just take the chords, working them in 2-chord patterns or 3-chord patterns. I'm just going to take this 2-chord pattern, working right down the neck, dropping it 1 fret at a time. Now I'll do it with the 3-chord pattern. And with the second ending, second choice of ending, back to the first choice of ending. In the Jazzy Ukulele book, I refer to these chord combinations as major patterns. Major pattern unfinished, meaning 2 chords. Major pattern finished, meaning 3 chords, with either 3rd chord as an ending. Now this isn't what professional jazz players and musicians call these. We call them 2-5 combinations for the unfinished and 2-5-1 combinations for the finished. But I tried to avoid theory as much as possible because that involves a lot of theory discussion and takes us down another road into a mathematical world. So I just want to show you the shapes so you can enjoy the sounds and get used to those sounds, and we'll just categorize them loosely as these major and major patterns. In our next lesson, we're going to cover the minor patterns, finished and unfinished. That's going to be something that we need to play jazz as well. Okay. Have fun.